So this is gonna be somewhat controversial. I'm not gonna say I'm a professional gas blowback tech. I will say that I have been doing this for a long time. I don't like AEGs. I like gas guns, especially gas blowbacks. I'm sure if you look through my channel, you can see that's kind of the trend. But I do like to think I know what I'm talking about. So, first off, right off the bat, I'm going to say this now, and I've said this in other videos. Green gas is a scam. Green gas is just going to do probably more damage to your gun and more issues with your gun, especially with rifles. I understand a lot of fields, especially indoor fields, don't allow propane. Sucks, especially for me. I just have to run with it. I can tell you for a fact though, with gas blowback rifle using propane, SMGs probably not so much of an issue. Pistols, really not an issue. But with rifles, it is an issue, and with the other guns, it is an issue, especially if you use it a lot. It also is just something that even if it's not causing an issue quickly or initially, it is still something you don't really want, and a lot of your issues with accuracy and hop can be contributed to the fact that you're using green gas. Because think about it, where do they tell you never to get lubricant in your airsoft gun? In your inner barrel and in your bucket. And if you're using green gas with silicone oil in it, and you're shooting that gas through your barrel, where's that silicone oil going? Inside your inner and inside your bucket. On rifles, it's a little bit more obvious because there's a little more gas going through it. I can tell you for a fact, when I used to have a regular GMP gas blowback M4 and I used to run it indoors and I had to use green gas, every match or two, I would literally have to clean and swab the inside of my bucking and my inner barrel because there's just so much silicone oil built up inside of it that my shots were literally within 20 feet going random directions or not even hopping at all because of all that buildup. I've even taken apart some of my mags that I've used lots of green gas in, and it's like a puddle of fucking silicone oil in there. And you know, if you're a beginner and you have just, let's say, a pistol or like an MP7 or some small submachine gun, and you don't have the tech skill or the confidence to clean your gun or lubricate it right, then yeah, green gas will be fine for your Padawan days. But I seriously recommend not using it. You can use HPA or propane, CO2. Obviously with CO2 you do need to be a little bit more careful with CO2 because CO2 is a very harsh gas. But for rifles especially, I don't recommend green gas. I usually run propane or CO2. Right here, this is a CO2 mag. You literally put a 12-gram CO2 cartridge in there and boom. A little bit more annoying to fill compared to green gas or green gas mag, but yeah. That is really it. I will go. It is funny to hear people say, oh, you should always run green gas because it saves your seals and lubricates your gun and blah blah blah, which is technically kind of true, yes. A well lubricated O-ring will last longer than a non-lubricated one. But when I say not using green gas, I don't mean never lubricate your gun. I'm just saying don't use that as a gas. I still really harp on good regular maintenance of not only your gun but your mags, which is why I released that GBBR, GBB maintenance video, and I go into somewhat detail. Now that I have a gas blowback M4 and M16, well, it's not mine, but we'll get into details later, but I can show you more on a regular AR platform versus my M14. But yeah, it's just funny sometimes. I'll talk about Or people be like, oh man, I forgot my green gas. I'm like, oh hey, I got my bottle of propane, you can use it. Oh no, they tell me not to use it, blah blah blah. And the same people that tell that to me know I'm the gas blowback guy of my community. My, you know, my little group texts and Discord or Facebook or whatever, like in my area where I play airsoft, and the people I play with, they all know me as a gas blowback guy. And they still want to argue with me. Or the even funnier one is, oh yeah, I don't use propane because it's bad for the gun. Meanwhile, when you bring up HPA tapped airsoft guns, they don't say anything at all. Like, oh yeah, I can't use propane in my pistol because it's bad for it. And then I'm literally showing, like, they'll literally know about and talk about HPA tapped gas blowbacks, thinking they want to get one. Because they'll come to me asking me about gas blowbacks, and then, you know, which ones to get and what to do and blah blah blah. It's just weird. But anyway, green gas is, I'm sorry, it's a scam. If you have to run it, I can somewhat agree to that. Nobody likes stinky propane, but if you're outdoors, like, even propane, you know, can give you actually a slightly higher FPS, which can be usually a good thing, gas blowback, since they tend to run a little bit lower, especially with like M4s versus, you know, a full length M16, but especially, you know, submachine guns that usually on green gas shoot pretty low with a regular power bolt. But yeah. So let's get into the guns. This is my Ghk M4, as you might not really recognize anymore because I made it a M4 Block 2 FSP. And then this is my friend's GMP Walk M16A4. It's the wrong rails, okay? I'm the clone guy, I know these are wrong. We just put them on here because I had them laying around and he doesn't have the correct rails yet. But this is his M16. This is GMP, GHK. They both use a WA gas system. This is a more correct 100% WA gas system. This is a modified one, which I talked about in my other video, and I'll show you the differences. I just pop these pins out. Boom. So on a regular WA gas system, if I can even get this in frame, you have this block right here. As you can see, if you know your GHKs, this bolt catch one is different. The hammer assembly still looks about the same. The trigger group and all that still pretty much the same. But right here, where you have this bolt catch slash your firing pin or valve knocker, whatever you want to call it, this assembly right here is a separate assembly, which you can kind of see it's a different color because this all pops out. Whereas if you saw my GHK video, or you're about to see right now, that isn't there anymore. This is all one unit now. It's literally the firing pin mechanism right here. It's pretty much attached to the hammer, and then this bolt catch is a little different and more like a real steel. It's just attached to the receiver. It's not its own little housing or whatever you want to call it. I thought it's cool to show you the little differences between the GHK and the GMP, even though they use the somewhat same gas system. This is more of a modified one. You can get GHK mags to work in a GMP. I've tried GMP mags in a GHK and they don't really want to work. They just won't even lock in. I'm sure you can modify it to lock in, but I wasn't gonna do that to my GHK just to test it out. But I know for sure you can modify GMP to fit GHK mags, because I have done it once before. I think you lose full auto. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you do. But anyway, so long story short, I took the GMP spring, put it in my GHK because it is a little bit of a stiffer spring. A little bit stiffer. I don't know if you can be able to tell. You might be able to tell. That spring's a little stiffer. I do have a heavyweight buffer back in here. I took the lightweight buffer out again. And I put in my friend's gun because he was having some gas consumption issues. But so yeah, this is a little stiffer of a spring, and it's got the heavyweight buffer and heavyweight buffer back, or the stock buffer, I should say. And then his is my GHK spring with a lightweight buffer, which seems to be a little bit slower. He's not looking for really fast, snappy semi, or he's definitely not going full auto. But his gas consumption was a little bit low, or I should say high. But yeah, so where do we go from here? Let's see. A little bit more about gas blowback rifles. They, depending which one you get, I'm just gonna say this off the bat. If you live in the U.S., don't get a WE. I probably said it before. For some reason, U.S. WE gas blowback rifles are just shit. I've talked to people overseas when they saw me talking shit about WEs, and they will be like, "Oh, but mine's fine. It's all stock." And I'm just like, "Wait a minute, that's not possible. That's illegal." But yeah, I've talked to people, and it's sort of a myth, I guess you can call it now. It can't be 100% proven, but there does seem to be a difference in quality when it comes to the US WEs and the European and Asian WEs. They're all made the same place, but I think ones that are known to be going to the US, I think they just, I don't know what they do. WE, please stop. But anyway, I still recommend the GMP walks to people. Evike is out of stock right now of the walk kits. There are sites that sell complete GMP walks, but I used to buy a bunch of the walk kits and put them together for friends, customers, for myself. I've probably built, man, probably over 7 GMP walks by now. A few of them I built from kits, and then a few others I literally built from parts laying around, or I just were completely redoing a gun. Like his M16 was pretty much a complete redo, because I stole his receiver for my M16 A4, so I pretty much had to build him from the ground up again, a new receiver, and put it all together. But these, they're really good out the box. Obviously they don't have steel internals like GHK, but I have to say, I used to run a regular gas blowback M16 GMP, and I've never really had issues with this stock fire control group or the stock bolts. Obviously the nozzle would give me some issues from time to time, so has this nozzle and the GHK, but the parts held up fine, especially compared to a WE. On to propane. If you're running propane, if you just do the normal regular maintenance and lubing of your gun, no matter if it's pistol to rifle, you'll be fine. I'm not going to get into detail about how to clean and lube your rifle, because I have another video about that, but if you do it, you know, before a game, or if you do it at least once a month to your rifle or whatever, it should be fine. You should have no issue running propane. I'm not going to say, like, disclaimer, I don't know how well you clean and lube your guns, or if you're doing everything exactly right, so if you do follow my words about doing it once a month and your gun still breaks, that's not on me. I'm sorry. Most of the people I know in airsoft with gas blowbacks don't know what they're doing. But yeah, but with CO2, you do have to be a lot more careful and do the maintenance a lot more, because CO2 is very cold, dirty, harsh gas. Good for cold weather because CO2 don't care really, but it's a lot harsher of a gas on especially O-rings and metal parts, but especially O-rings. So make sure, like, every few, like maybe 3 or 4 CO2 cartridges, just drop some silicone oil in, like into the mag where it pierces the CO2, and then just drop some oil inside the gasket right here, and open and close the valve manually, a few times to let that oil work its way in. Or if you have a valve key, or if you really want to, take the valve out and make sure it gets a good coating. But yeah, this is pretty much what gas to use in gas blowbacks. I'm gonna do another video on rate of fire and recoil, like how to adjust recoil and rate of fire, and in my next video. It was supposed to be this video, but I'll do a next video because that's a whole other rabbit hole.